So with the conclusion of the David Casey first-degree murder trial in Saskatoon Court of Queen's Bench this week, I thought it would be helpful to go through a timeline of the events, as this is a very large case and it actually spans 8 years from the death and disappearance of Carole King in the Herschel area in 2011 to today, the trial in 2018. So we'll start with the timeline. David Casey and Carole King actually met on a work site in Alberta in 2007. They're both from Eastern Canada, but had come out west to get work, and they worked for a steel building company together. They soon entered a romantic relationship, even though Casey was still married at the time. Then around 2009, King and Casey decide to move out to Herschel, Saskatchewan, and bought a property, an acreage just outside of Herschel, under King's name. Then in 2011, Casey actually moved his wife and children to a property just down the street and maintained an on-again, off-again relationship with both women. That brings us to August of 2011. And this is the time when Carole King is last reported seen. What we know is that she was leaving for a RCMP appointment in Rosetown at 5 o'clock on August 6, 2011. And what we've learned throughout the course of the trial is that she was actually going to make a criminal harassment complaint against Casey. Their relationship had been deteriorating for some time. And the Crown's motive is that it had to do with financial disputes over this house. So Carole King is reported missing shortly after, and on August 10th, so that's about 4 days after her disappearance, her car is found in a slough, and the slough is in the Herschel area. And then after an extensive missing persons investigation, a volunteer searcher finds the remains of Carole King on an abandoned, isolated farmyard just 6 kilometers away from where her car was found on August 10th. Casey was a natural suspect. Usually police go with the significant other when they're looking for suspects in these types of cases. But David Casey had an alibi. He was in Alberta at the time. He said he was in Alberta at the time, and he said he had people and proof of it. Police had several interviews with Casey, and a significant one was in March of 2012, when apparently Casey was interviewed for 15 hours by police, but no charges were laid. Fast forward 4 years, it's 2016, February 2016, and police have basically started an undercover operation that we know as a Mr. Big Sting. They befriend Casey, and it's all on the premise that they're trying to recruit him to this fictitious organization that the undercover police officers have created. And over the course of 5 months, Casey confesses on 6 different occasions to killing Carole King. He says he strangled her, then he backtracks on the story and says he actually stabbed her. That information definitely differed from each other, but his other information about dumping her car in the slough and dumping her body in an abandoned field, that did match the physical evidence of the case. On July 19th, 2016, when the undercover operation commenced, Casey was charged with first-degree murder. Now, I tell you all this leading up to the fact that closing arguments took place this week, which is a summary of the case and a lawyer's opportunity to argue why or why not their client should be found guilty or innocent. The Crown saying that the confessions, huge reason to convict. Why would somebody confess to a murder they didn't commit? And also just so many things lined up within what he was telling police officers and what actually happened. Also, the fact that he confessed several times and also repeatedly told police, "I'm telling you the truth." He knew that that was a very important aspect of being a part of the criminal organization, was being truthful. Now, the defense says this was a false confession, that David Casey lied to police about his involvement in this murder because he thought it would keep him in the criminal organization and therefore keep him making money. He also said that the unreliability of the statements is proven through the inconsistencies between some of the things he told police and the actual evidence that was found. This case, very interesting and has been going on for quite some time. It spanned some months here in Saskatoon. And Justice Richard Daniluk here at Court of Queen's Bench is expected to rule on whether or not Casey is guilty of first-degree murder in January. At Saskatoon Court of Queen's Bench, I'm Bree McAdam with the Saskatoon Star Phoenix.